Hello everyone, I am Miss Taylor and I'm going to be reading chapter 19 to you today. The walnut whistled through the gap between Winston's ear, but the shout had almost made him leap out of his skin in fright. He looked around, panting to see who or what was hollering at him. It was a large rat. He was hanging out over the top of one of the wicker hampers by the entrance to the food hall, looking very cross indeed. He clambered out and made his way over to Winston, who was still trying to get his breath back. "Goodness me," said the rat. "Never have I ever seen anything in my life like that. Approaching a food preparation area looking like you've just rolled in a muddy ditch. Just think of all those germs." Then he shuddered from his whiskers to the towel and recoiled away from Winston as though he were made of fire. "I'm sorry," said Winston. "Have I done something wrong? I was only going to get a bit of cheap..." "Wrong?" the rat snorted. "You're about to go wandering amongst one of the finest food available in the world, and just look at you. You're filthy, absolutely filthy." Winston looked down at himself. In the warm yellow glow of the food hall's Christmas lights, he had to admit he did look very grubby indeed. He turned his paws over and was shocked to see that their usual pinkness had disappeared under a thick layer of dirt. His ears drooped with embarrassment, and, under the layer of grime, his cheeks flushed bright pink. "I'm so sorry," he squeaked. "I'm just really hungry and I've had quite a busy night." The rat sniffed rather hauntedly, but softened when he saw how little and floppy-eared and tired Winston was. "Not to worry, little chap," he said, before drawing himself up proudly. "By the way, my name is Eduardo Fromage. I like to think of myself as the night manager here, and as such, I can't have any germs getting near the grub. It would be a terrible business. You've got to be ship-shape and sparkling clean to go into the food hall, like me. Look at how shiny my fur is, and smell me, it's the most expensive cologne the store sells." Eduardo turned around slowly on the spot for Winston to admire his glossy fur and exquisitely curled whiskers, and to take in the rather strong smell of spicy perfume and soap. "Now let's get you scrubbed up and fed," Eduardo said kindly. "What's your name, by the way?" Winston told him. "Marvellous," said Eduardo. "Well, you just follow me and you'll soon be sparkling." 5 minutes later, Winston found himself on a gleaming white counter in another section of the department store. Instead of food, this bit of shop had all sorts of crystal bottles full of coloured liquids and little pots and boxes of powders and creams as far as the eye could see. There were lots of advertisements with pictures of glamorous men and women on them, and the entire place smelt of roses and cleanliness. There were mirrors everywhere, and Eduardo stopped every few seconds en route to admire himself in them. Winston got quite a start when he saw his own reflection. It was a frightful state. No wonder Eduardo had thrown a walnut at him. On the way, Winston had tried to explain his important mission, and that, as lovely as the wash would be, he had to track down Father Christmas in the shop before he set off around the world in his sleigh. The trouble was, Eduardo looked like to natter. He nattered and nattered and nattered, and Winston couldn't get a word in edgeways. It turned out that Eduardo had lived in the department store all his life, and no one, apart from the owner, knew the place better. When the shop was closed, Eduardo spent his evenings wandering about the place, making sure that everything was spick and span. His office, as he called it, was a hamper lined inside with a silk scarf and lots of lavender-scented pillows. Eduardo explained most of this as he was filling a small sink with water. When he was satisfied that there was enough in the basin, he said, "Rightio, Winston, in you get." "In there?" asked Winston, peering over the sides. His only other experience with water was puddles. He unwound his scarf from his neck and gingerly clambered down and found that the water was rather warm. He paddled around it. It was fun, and he giggled as the water splashed about between his toes. Suddenly, a great dollop of floral-smelling cream landed on his head. Eduardo was hard at work, dragging over lots of different bottles of lotions and creams and squirting them into the sink and onto Winston. He told Winston to give his fur a good scrub. Winston was slightly dubious at first, but he did as he was told, and before long the water in the sink was murky and brown. After a quick rinse, Eduardo helped Winston out and handed him a flannel. Winston finally emerged, gleaming white, his fur almost sparkling. "Nice and clean," announced Eduardo. "No germs and you look much better. I think it's time we have a little something to eat." Winston didn't say anything. He didn't have to. His tummy grumbled very loudly in excitement as he followed Eduardo back to the food hall towards all that delicious smelling grub. So that's chapter 19. I hope you enjoyed listening to the story, and make sure you tune in for chapter 20 tomorrow.